The most haunted books you should never ever open. Hook. Ever thought about objects that are more than just, well, objects? Some things, especially old books, aren't just paper and ink. They seem to carry whispers from the past, echoes of forgotten rituals, and sometimes a feeling of dread that's hard to shake. It's said that just opening certain books can unleash a whole heap of misfortune, that they're like magnets for the creepy and unexplained. What if the most terrifying stories weren't just stories, but actual physical books bound in leather, collecting dust and just waiting for someone like you to pick them up? Intro. All right, welcome. We're about to take a little trip into a world where books are more than just bedtime reading. They're genuinely scary. Tonight, we're not talking about those horror novels designed to give you a quick thrill. Nope. We're exploring real-life books, ancient grimoires, and forbidden texts that people whisper are cursed. Books that could bring absolute doom to anyone who dares to peek inside. These are the items that have left a dark stain on history. They're dangerous legends passed down for centuries. So, forget made-up horror. The real terror is in things you could, in theory, actually touch. But seriously, you probably shouldn't. Ever. We're unlocking the chilling legends behind some of the most haunted books ever known. Brace yourselves, because we're stepping into a world where reading can be a fatal mistake. Section 1. The Grand Grimoire, the Gospel of Satan. First up in our Library of the Damned is a book so infamous, it's often called the Gospel of Satan, or Le Dragon Rouge, the Red Dragon. This is the Grand Grimoire. Pinpointing its exact origins is tricky. Some say the 16th or 17th century, a time when people were all about occult stuff and pretty scared of demons. Legend even whispers that its real author was Honorius of Thebes, supposedly possessed by the devil himself. Another story claims it was found in what they call the Tomb of Solomon, way back in 1750. Now, the Grand Grimoire isn't exactly light reading. It's said to be packed with some seriously nasty instructions. How to summon powerful demons, including Lucifer, or even Lucifuge Rofacal, Hell's supposed prime minister who apparently makes his only literary appearance right here. It even details how to make pacts with these, well, infernal beings, basically offering up your soul for their unholy power. The rituals it describes, they're complex, deeply blasphemous, and all designed to bend dark forces to your will. Can you imagine the sheer desperation or ambition that would make someone even think about seeking out that kind of power? And the curse of the Grand Grimoire? It's not subtle. We're not talking about a paper cut getting infected. Legends claim that just owning or even reading this dark book can invite spiritual trouble, catastrophic bad luck, and in some versions of the story, a really nasty death. They say the book itself is soaked in malevolent power, like a dark consciousness that latches onto anyone who disturbs it. One of the most persistent rumors? That the original manuscript, the true source of all this dark knowledge, is locked away deep inside the Vatican secret archives. Yep, the very place dedicated to fighting demonic influence supposedly holds the most dangerous tool for spreading it because it's just too perilous for the rest of us. While solid, verifiable proof of its curse is, predictably, hard to come by, the stories alone are chilling. Tales circulate about past owners meeting tragic ends, their lives falling apart shortly after getting their hands on the grimoire. Whether that's down to actual supernatural meddling, the psychological toll of its contents, or just the power of suggestion, the fear surrounding the Grand Grimoire is very real. Its reputation as a widely available diabolical grimoire, especially when it was popular in 19th century France, really cemented its place in occult history as a truly dangerous artifact. Even if you somehow found a copy, the big question is, would you actually dare to see if the legends are true? Section 2. The Codex Gigas, the Devil's Bible. Next, let's carefully turn the shadowy pages to a truly massive artifact with an equally huge and grim reputation, the Codex Gigas, often called the Devil's Bible. This beast of a book was created in the early 13th century in a Benedictine monastery in Bohemia, which is now the Czech Republic. It's the largest surviving medieval manuscript on the planet, weighing a whopping 165 pounds and standing about 3 feet tall. It took more than 160 animal skins just to make its parchment pages. Its sheer size is mind-boggling, but its legend? That's what really sends a shiver down your spine. The most famous story about the Codex Gigas is its unholy origin. Legend has it that a monk, sentenced to be walled up alive for breaking his sacred vows, ouch, made a desperate bargain. He promised to create a book containing all human knowledge, bringing glory to the monastery, all in a single night. As midnight crept closer and the impossible deadline loomed, the monk supposedly made a pact, not with God, but with the devil. Lucifer, in exchange for the monk's soul, finished the manuscript. And as a mark of this demonic help, or maybe as a grim little signature from the devil himself, a full-page, terrifyingly detailed portrait of Satan is included in its pages. That picture, stark and deeply unsettling, has done a lot to fuel its sinister reputation. The curse tied to the Codex Gigas is all about misfortune and disaster for whoever owns it. History, whether spruced up over time or not, seems to back this up. After the manuscript was made, the monastery reportedly hit some hard times. Later, when Swedish forces looted it from Prague in 1648 during the 30 Years' War, it ended up in the Swedish Royal Library. It's whispered that the library then suffered a string of unexplained fires and mysterious deaths among its staff, events some folks link directly to the Devil's Bible being there. One story even claims a guard, accidentally locked in the library overnight, was found stark raving mad the next morning, babbling about seeing the Codex Gigas floating and dancing with other books. Spooky, right? Beyond the Bible, the Codex Gigas contains a wild mix of things. 2 works by Josephus Flavius, Isidore of Seville's Etymologies, a standard medical textbook of the time, the Chronicle of the Bohemians by Cosmas of Prague, a calendar, and even magical formulas and spells for exorcising evil spirits. This bizarre jumble of the sacred and the profane just makes it even more mysterious. Today, the Codex Gigas is kept safe in the National Library of Sweden in Stockholm, displayed behind glass. Its famous devil portrait is often shown as a digital replica to protect the ancient pages. Scholars tend to approach it with academic curiosity, blaming the legends on medieval superstition and the awe its enormous size and unique artwork would have naturally inspired. And yet, the stories of disaster linger, a persistent shadow cast by that striking image of the devil, forever bound within its ancient pages. The question still hangs in the air, like a sudden chill. Is it just a fascinating historical artifact, or does a piece of that diabolical bargain still echo from its colossal form? Section 3. The Orphan Story. A Curse Reborn? Our final haunted book takes us to a more recent rediscovery, a book whose curse seems to have woken up when people tried to bring it into the light. Historia del Huérfano, or The Orphan Story. Now, this isn't some ancient grimoire filled with demonic spells. It's a 17th century Spanish novel that was lost for nearly 400 years. Written between 1608 and 1615 by Martín de León Cárdenas, a Spanish friar who'd traveled a lot, it tells the story of a 14-year-old Spaniard looking for his fortune in the Americas. The story itself, a picaresque adventure through the Spanish Empire, from Lima's high society to the brutal mines of Bolivia, sounds harmless enough. But its journey to actually being published? That's where things get a bit shadowy. The manuscript was originally supposed to be published way back in 1621, but for reasons nobody really knows, maybe the author worried about his church career, it never actually made it to print. Then, it just lay forgotten in the archives of the Hispanic Society of America until a Spanish academic named Belinda Palacios found it again in 1965. And this is where the whispers of a curse really start to gain traction. As various scholars and translators began working on the manuscript, a really disturbing pattern of bad luck started to emerge. Belinda Palacios herself, who spent years editing the book for its eventual publication in 2018, said many people warned her the book was cursed. She was told that people who worked on it tended to die under mysterious circumstances. While she initially brushed these claims aside, the stories were unsettlingly specific. Previous attempts to publish the orphan story had indeed failed, and those involved had met untimely ends. Palacios mentioned in interviews that one from a strange disease, one in a car accident, and another of something else. Among those who reportedly died before finishing their versions were Antonio Rodriguez Moñino, a Spanish scholar, and William C. Bryant, a professor of Spanish. These deaths, while you could argue they were coincidences, definitely created a creepy vibe around the manuscript. 400 years hidden away, followed by a string of tragedies hitting those who tried to share its story, you can see why rumors of some malevolent energy clinging to its nearly 400 pages started to fly. Was some force actively trying to keep the orphan's tale quiet? Or was it just a series of awful coincidences blown up by the mystique of a long-lost book? The orphan story was finally published, and last we heard, Belinda Palacios is doing just fine, which hopefully means that if there was a curse, it's either been lifted or just fizzled out. Still, the book's journey is a chilling reminder that sometimes the shadows of the past can cling to objects in ways you just don't expect. The story, Inside. Its pages is about an orphan's adventures long ago, but the story of the book itself is a modern ghost story, a tale of researchers and academics who might have paid a terrible price for disturbing a literary slumber. CTA. So those are just a few whispers from a whole library of nightmares, real books with seriously dark reputations. Which of these cursed chronicles do you find the most terrifying? Are there other haunted texts or cursed books whose legends give you the creeps? Let us know down in the comments. And if you're brave enough to explore more of the unknown with us, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the shadows. Conclusion. From demonic pacts bound in ancient leather to more modern tales of literary misfortune, the whole idea of cursed books taps into a really primal fear that some knowledge is dangerous and some doors are best left unopened. The Grand Grimoire, the Codex Gigas, the orphan story, each carries its own unique, chilling legend. While historians and skeptics might chalk these tales up to superstition, coincidence, or just the power of a good story, the fear they stir up is undeniably real. These books are potent symbols of forbidden knowledge and the dark allure of the unknown. They remind us that some stories are more than just words on a page. They're echoes of fear, bound and waiting. Whether they're truly cursed or simply wrapped in compelling legend, they serve as a pretty stark warning. Be careful what you read. You never know what might read you back.